One of the best and most exciting things about NRL and rugby league every single year, especially when you're going for a struggling club like myself, is seeing who the rookies are coming through and who's giving your club hope and direction for the future. And if you're going for a good team, who's going to be that next guy that's going to be the star for your side. Today's video is going to be talking about the rookies from your club you need to keep an eye on for this season that could take you to the next level. Let's get straight into it. We're going to be starting with the Roosters, who they've actually got a very exciting crop of juniors coming through at the moment, and that potentially could be why they're letting so many of these stars go, because these guys are going to be chewing up some salary cap space coming in the future. And the guys I want to talk about today, first off, is Robert Toya. He's had reps on him for a fair while now. I think he's still like 21, 22. He's just been plagued with injuries. It's been really unfortunate, but every single person you hear from the Roosters talking about him say he's an absolute gun, absolute star. And there's a couple of outside back spots up for grabs there at the Roosters heading into 2025. And I think one of them is going to be Bobby Toya's, especially if he can stay fit throughout the whole of the 2025 NRL season. Really good centre, great in his feet. We've seen him play for Queensland under 19s, and I think he's going to be a name that everyone's going to know come the end of the season. That is for damn sure. And then as well, another couple of guys who are both also Queensland juniors, have represented Queensland under 19s. A couple of big boppers, and they're the brothers, De La Salle as well as Xavier. Xavier is a bit older than De La Salle, but I think they might rate De La Salle a little bit higher. Both been playing a lot of New South Wales Cup footy in the last couple of seasons and been killing it. Two massive bodies, and again, the Roosters have lost a few forwards this year, and they're going to need some help in the front row department, losing Rio Hargraves as well as Terrell May. And I think the VAR boys, maybe to start the season, they might have some limited minutes, but as the season goes and they develop into it, they'll be absolutely ready to go. We know that front rows and forwards in particular, so take a couple more years to develop to be up to that NRL speed, unless you're an absolute freak like a Payne Haas. So yeah, watch out for the VAR boys, particularly for this year, but also in the coming seasons. Now, let's go over to the Cronulla Sharkies, who again, they've got a decent crop of young kids coming through. First one, we've seen him play NRL before, and then he got injured. That is Cade Dykes, a pretty live wire fullback. They've got pretty high raps on, as well as another fullback they've got high raps on as well there, Liam Ison, who's just re-signed. I think he's a bit younger. He might be like 19 or something, but from what you hear, they reckon he's an absolute gun. Also, they've got one of them they've just recently signed as well from the Raiders to join his younger brother, his twin brother, and that is the Purdue twins. One is a lock, one is a halfback. I'll say not necessarily spots where the Sharkies need some replacements or new guys, but hey, if they're going to be better, they're going to be better. They both display quite good ball playing skills, and I think they'll be very handy in the future, and we'll probably see at least one, or if not both of them, make their debut coming into 2025, especially depending how the Sharks get that hit over the origin period. We've also got Michael Gabriel, who plays on the wing, who just scores a bucket of tries, scored heaps of tries last year in Jersey Flag, and I think he'll be playing New South Wales Cup this year and make a pretty good impression on that, and potentially could get a spot on the wing depending on injuries and that sort of thing throughout the season. There's also this guy who I was lucky enough to be invited by New South Wales Rugby League to the New South Wales Cup Grand Final and that sort of thing. And this guy, Chris Vailea, he was at 24, playing in the centres. He was so good. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a crack at the Sharkies this year or another club in the future, because he was too good to be playing that game, I'll tell you that much for free. And we got the Cowboys, where we've got Robert Darby, who he played a game in 2023 and then was hit with injury, but he's looking good coming into the 2025 NRL season. And again, like talking about those Roosters boys, there's spots there in that Cowboys side, especially on the wing with Kyle Feldt gone, and the centres with Valentine Holmes, which I think they're going to be occupied by Labour as well as Robert Darby. He's going to be a name for the future for sure. Big, strong kind of guy. Papua New Guinean background, I believe. Yeah, going to be a gun. And then you've also got Caden Lars there, who's a forward. Tom Leroy Lars' son, I believe. Played Blues 18s last year, and I think he's still in the 18 or something like that. Like, he played up a year. Yeah, plenty of raps on Caden Lars. Now, let's go to the Canterbury-Bankstown Bulldogs, where obviously Mitch Woods is the name that you're waiting to hear from there. Don't know how much of a shot he gets this year, unless Matt Burton plays Origin. Like Matt Burton and Toby Sexton are definitely a solidified halves, and Mitch Woods is still very raw. That's the thing that I picked up most from the Blues 19s game last year. I was like, he could have been given a lot more service to his outside men, and he would have looked like a lot better player, in my opinion. But hey, he's on the bright lights, he's young, you sort of allow those things, but I think that there's something that needs to work on in his game for sure. But hey, like, this is the guy that was scouted by every single code in Australia to play professional sport. There's a bit about him. And then we've also got a guy who played in their 21s team last year as their halfback on the grand final day and was really, really good and has got some raps about him. It's Cassius Tia. I thought his game management for a 19-year-old or 20-year-old was really, really good. And you don't really see that from a lot of halves these days, especially. It's a skill you sort of develop later in your career, but I thought he was fantastic. And at the Bulldogs, you've also got Damon Marshall there, who's a front rower, like a lock kind of player, bit of a terrier, like very mobile kind of forward, would suit this Bulldog system really well. And I think we'll see his name this year, if not next year. All right, now let's go to the Northern Beaches. Manly. We've got Caleb Navale, the Fijian fella. He played a couple of games last year. He's just going to continue to grow and grow, and he'll be developing. I think he'll play a lot more first grade minutes this year. Looks the goods, in my opinion. And you've also got Joey Walsh, who this kind of depends whether DCE makes Origin this year. Whether you see him play this year. Come over from Union, ball player, looks gun. Stacked on a heap of weight in this offseason as well, so his body looks a bit more ready for rugby league. But I think he's the guy they've sort of marked as to be the replacement for DCE, which is like, it's a massive thing to have on you. But like, Jamie Humphries was going to be that guy, and I let him go, and they brought in Joey Walsh, which shows you how much they rate him. You've also got this fella coming down from the Cowboys, who I'm extremely glad that he goes by Mia, because I cannot pronounce his name, and I'm going to have to learn if he makes the NRL, because it looks like he's going to be an absolute gun. Played Queensland 19s, I think, and he definitely played Cup, Queensland Cup when he was like 18, which is nuts. Yeah, his second row up forward, an area that Manly definitely need. So hopefully Mia can make a statement in NRL this year. And we've got the Storm now. The Storm don't have a single rookie in their whole top 30. So I had to do a little bit of deep diving, went to the Instagram story to ask you guys who should I be looking out for from the Storm. And it's this guy, Atavalu Lasati. We saw him debut last year against the Cowboys, and I can remember it. He was an absolute gun. He scored like a freakish try. Come over from Penrith. He's played like 50 cup games, so he's got plenty of experience playing against men. And I think, like, when you look at the Storm team, like, Sean Bloor isn't going to play Origin, and obviously Katoa isn't eligible for Origin, but that doesn't mean things like injury and suspension don't happen. We could absolutely see Lasati be that next man up for the Storm, and once he gets in there, not leave. And we go over to the Knights, who they've got a fair few guns here. You got Cody Hopwood, played Blues 19s last year because Blake Steep was out. I believe he was still young as well. Massive raps on him. Is a forward, again, an area that the Knights need, and I think we'll see him get some minutes in 2025. We also got Kyle McCarthy, we saw debut against the Sharkies in 2024, and I mean, he'll admit, wasn't his best game of footy, but he looks a bit more mature, like his body's rounded, like filled out a bit more. And yeah, there's plenty of potential there, and could get a spot on the wing or in the centres. He scored a mountain of tries in New South Wales Cup, and he's still only, I think he's turned 21 this year, so still young as. And you got Matt Arthur as well, they brought over from the Eels in hooker. Knights could use a pretty good hooker, and I think Matt Arthur will be that in the future. And we've also got Seb Sewer, who we saw play last year against the Bunnies, and got sin binned and whatever. But again, another guy that the Knights have got pretty good raps on. And I think we'll see Sebastian Stewart do well in the future. And we go to Panthers. Again, like the Storm, it's just like they've got so many guns that they can't really fill their roster up with rookies. And the McLean brothers are both not rookies anymore because they have played more than 5 NRL games. So I've got Riley Price. He's come down from the Cowboys last year. And he's always had raps on him. Steve Price's son, obviously. And I think with a few players leaving and whatnot, and a few more minutes in the rotation seemingly being there, maybe Riley Price gets his shot this year, but he's certainly a guy that's had raps on him for a fair while, and I'd like to see him do well. And then we've got the Raiders. Now, they've got a few guns coming through. They've actually got a really good crop of juniors. First guy I'm going to talk about has come over from the Dragons, unfortunately for me, and that is Sav Tamali. He's a really good outside back. We saw him debut against the Raiders in the last round of the season last year. It's an interesting decision, but anyway, it is what it is. And I think he'll be great. Really good strong ball carry coming out of their own end. Like, he's basically the perfect replacement for Jordan Rapana. I know that Raiders fans haven't really seen him play, so they're not putting him in their predicted size and whatever, but like, he'll be great. Yeah, he's going to be a name that we're going to see around for a long time. Really elusive, just dynamic. I'm actually really upset that the Dragons lost him. And we've also got Ethan Sanders coming over from the Eels, obviously a halfback with massive raps on him. Like, you're going to have Ethan Strange and Ethan Sanders being your long-term halves. Raiders fans, you're sorted for a long while. And you've also got a hooker, Owen Paddy. He was playing New South Wales Cup last year at 18 in hooker role, where again it's not an issue per se for the Raiders, but it's certainly an area that can use some improvement. Like, I think if you get this kid coming through who's displaying some good qualities and whatnot, chuck him in there instead of Danny Levi. Respectfully to Danny Levi, good placeholder, but he's not going to win your comp. We go over to the Finns. You got Michael Wonga there, who played Queensland 19s, I believe, last year, as well as James Walsh, Group 7 product. I know a little bit about him, second rower. And I think, again, I believe Michael Wonga is a second rower as well. Quickly looked him up, and he's listed as a front rower, which is even better for the Dolphins because they've got an aging fullback and losing a lot of experience over the next couple of years. So these two guys are definitely ones to look for to be blooded through in 2025. And we go over to the St. George Illawarra Dragons, where they've got a few guns coming through, right? A couple of guys that we're going to be talking about in this video in 2026 and 2027, because they're like the best forwards in the country at the moment, in terms of for their age, but they're just a little bit not ready yet. But this guy, Loco Pacifica Tonga, you'll be hearing a lot about him this year because he's ready for first grade now. He's got dimensions that are bigger than Payne Haas. He moves well. He's a mobile forward. We've seen him. He played really well in the Blues under-19s game last year. That's the thing. He's turning 20 this year. So again, still a little bit immature for a front rower. But I think he'll be up to the trials and tribulations of first grade this year. And I don't know whether we'll see him in round 1, but we're definitely going to see him play 5 to 10 games of first grade this year at a minimum. And you've also got Hamish Stewart there, who's a big body, as a lock forward, can ball play a bit, got really good footy IQ, just a tough worker, gets through a lot of the shit stuff basically, and I think he'll be an asset for the Dragons in 2025 and beyond. And you've also got his good mate Dylan Egan, second rower, who again, just tenacious, he will not stop all day. He was one of the in the top 3 categories for heaps of effort areas last year in New South Wales Cup. Managed to score a fair few tries as well, running some pretty good hard lines. And yeah, not the biggest body, but certainly plays above his weight. And again, another one to look out for the Dragons in an area in the forwards which they need help with in improving. You also got Lycan King Togia, who played a couple games of 5'8" towards the end of the season there, and I think again, the halves aren't locked down for the Dragons, and there's no reason why Lycan can't make a bit more of an impression in the NRL in 2025, even if it's a role off the bench. And we go over to the Broncos, who, in Ben Takura, we all know about him. Tallest bloke to ever play NRL. I think he just got blooded with a few minutes last year. Michael Maguire get the best out of him, and we'll see a bit more from him this year. Also got Israel Leota, who is a winger, and I spoke about him last year. He's played Queensland under 19s, pretty good, pretty dynamic, bit like that Brian Toto kind of mold. And I think when you look at the Broncos roster moving forward, they're probably going to lose either Katoni Staggs or Selwyn Cobbo, so there's probably going to be a couple of outside back spots open up, and Leota could be that guy. I think we'll see him make his debut around Origin time in 2025. And we've also got Kobe Black. Now, I don't know whether we'll see him this year in particular, but at least to start the year anyway for the Broncos. The halves are both 34 years of age until Azra Mam comes back. And he's the guy that's sort of been earmarked and as the next Broncos half to take him through and lead this generation of really good crop, young talent. And he scored 38 points in one game, I think, probably more by himself in a game of Melbourne Cup this year. Yeah, Kobe Black is the goods. Now we go across to the Warriors, and we've got Halasima, who we saw play a few games last year. I think this is a really damaging forward in the making, as well as Zion. Sorry, I cannot pronounce that last name. I will get better the more we play rugby league. But we saw him make his debut as well last year, and Warriors seemingly again back into those Toyota Cup days, when they just had forwards popping up left, right, center. I think it's seemingly like that again, and they're pretty sure they got a couple of good outside backs as well. Things are looking up for the Wires, especially because when they're producing pretty good juniors. So yeah, Halasima and Zion are the two I've got to look out for 2025. And we go over to the Titans, and this guy, I mean, they've got 3 million fullbacks there, but he made his debut last year and looked pretty good too. And that's Jalen de Groot. We also saw him in the trials last year. I thought he was pretty good. And any injuries or suspensions come with the outside backs, I feel like this guy can cover it and should be getting blooded and making some pretty good minutes. We've also got Sam Stevenson, who is a Queensland under-19s outside back to look out for, as well as Zane Harrison, who was a New South Wales under-19s half. Those guys, like, bro, the Titans have actually got so many halves coming through as well at the moment, which is funny because it's an area that probably don't really need that much. But again, like I said before, when I was talking about another club anyway, is like, if these halves are going to be better than the current halves, put them in. Just because you already have some decent halves doesn't mean you can't get better halves. So yeah, the Titans, they've got a pretty good crop of juniors coming out there, and I feel like Desi's going to know exactly what to do with them and get the best out of them. So Titans fans, get excited for that. We've got 3 clubs left. We've got the Eels, where it's Isaiah Ayongi and Josh Papali. I know it's spelt Papali'i, but pretty sure he wants to be pronounced Papali. So yeah, I like either of these guys is going to be the fullback in round 1, and either of them will do a great job. I would kind of like to see Ayongi as the fullback, and then maybe Papali off the bench as a 14, because he can play a few like more roles. He's played center, 5'8", and that sort of thing. But yeah, these guys are both like electric love 5 fullbacks. Ayongi gets through a bit more of the work. Like, he's going to be pumping out 250 run meters like he did for Penrith in his debut. He is like, I mean, it's the Penrith system, right? He's going to be in that similar mold to Dylan Edwards, because if Dylan Edwards ever got hurt, he's going to play fullback and he's going to play a very similar role. Yeah, both great assets and pickups for the Parramatta Eels. Then at South, they've got a few good juniors coming through, but there's only one guy really I want to talk about. That's Jamie Humphries. This guy is going to be a gun. I cannot believe Manly let him go. Played the game of halfback last year and killed it, brained it, scored a try. Thanks for coming. But he was being moulded as a 9 by Manly, and I think that's what he's been signed to play for South. Obviously, he can play halfback as well if needed, because that halfback spot certainly isn't locked down at the Rabbitohs, but in all the training stuff we've seen, like, he's sort of been passable at dummy half, that sort of thing. He's training as a hooker, and I think he'll be their starting 9 come round 1, and I think he'll be their starting 9 come round 27. And bold prediction, in a few years, he'll be in a Blues jersey. Then we go over to the Tigers, last but not least, and we have a couple of guns here. We saw them both play last year. I cannot, like, Kit Laulii. Sorry, I know I've stuffed that up. There's also, you've got his brother there as well, but he's going to be great for the Tigers this year, as well as Jordan Miller. Now, I believe Jordan Miller's name was tossed up in those 5 players that came back from preseason, super unfit or whatever for the Tigers, but he's a young kid who, he's been in an unprofessional Tigers environment for the last couple of years, and that was the expectations and what you could get away with. So he's young. If he makes a mistake again, then I get it. Like, no. But he's played a couple games for the Tigers, a couple games for Fiji. Looks to be the goods in the middle. Again, an area that the Tigers just, like, probably don't need help with anymore, but could certainly use some reinforcements. So they're my rookies to watch for 2025. If you like the video, make sure you leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more rugby league content, and let me know who you think is going to win Rookie of the Year and what rookie you're most excited to watch from your club. Remember to always Scotty drink your water and Bradman do your best.